It's going to be copy-paste. Books are, not good. Win total's a tick too low. Knock it right over. Make playoff price tick too juicy. Bang it out. Postseason comes around on a tee. Knock their heads off.
I don't think the Steelers organization just makes a move to make a move. They have to have, it's like being in the book. You have to know what you're going to move the line to.
Game time decisions. Only on SportsGrid.
Two guys that can do it all.
Too much electricity this morning.
This is a good time. We're having a lot of fun.
I had to do a triple take. Ka-ching! Why? Because of parity. I didn't mean to offend.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
Load management is a dirty word.
Let him rip.
You know what? Circumstances provide the results. What? How do you do this once? Oh, Donnie, you got such a good show there.
A network that is booming.
The Early Line. Only on SportsGrid.
Talk about it failing and always putting the square peg into the round hole. We're going to run it. We're going to try and play these lower scoring games. They didn't score over 17 points in the 5 straight losses.
There's a chance for the Ravens to exercise every single demon on their way to a Super Bowl. But it also means the path is very difficult and things are only getting started.
Pro Football Today. Only on SportsGrid.
We welcome you to hour number 2, live right here on this Wednesday morning on the Early Line on SportsGrid. He is Donnie Rightside. I am Ben Stevens. The entirety of this second hour, it's time for off-season reaction around the National Football League, including those 6 teams that were just bounced from the opening round of the postseason during Wild Card Weekend. Big picture questions in our favorite game known as NFL Buy or Sell, DRS.
Yeah, love buy or sell. You always get that good information out to the people. Also try to win your arguments here. And some of these questions are fairly good entering into where we could go either way in some of these opportunities. So Let's get started. Let's get after it. An exciting hour number 2.
Hot button topics, that is for sure. And DRS, I think the biggest discussion piece from Wild Card Weekend, and maybe it's because it happened in a standalone game on Monday night in Glendale, Arizona, that would be the performance of Sam Darnold, and not what it means for the game or the Vikings playoff outlook that has now come to a close, but what it means for Sammy D's future, either in the Twin Cities, probably not much of that, but elsewhere around the National Football League. You see the stat line for Monday, 25 of 40, 245 yards. Did throw a passing score, but had 2 key turnovers, an interception early in the opening half, and of course he was sacked. Dropped the football, picked up by Jared Verse of L.A., and taken back to the house. He was also sacked 9 times. And, Donnie, you could argue, some of that is on a Vikings offensive line that struggled throughout this season. I think a lot of that, though, is on Sam Darnold, understanding he was going to be under duress and not getting rid of the football in a timely fashion. So that's the stat line for Monday, the most significant game of the season for the Vikings, following a very significant game to end out the regular season. The buy or sell is this: Sam Darnold will now not sign a long-term deal this offseason.
I'm certainly, buying. He's not signing a long-term deal. He'll sign a deal, but when we talk long-term, like quarterback position with a player in your 20s, at least getting 5 years, he's not getting that at this point, and it's his own fault, and rightfully so. Maybe some other teams got saved out here from the fool's gold. We understand during the regular season, it's hard to be a quarterback. It is. If you play well, fantastic. But we judge quarterbacks and what you're going to pay them when you need to step up in the biggest moments. We've seen players who maybe not deserving of contracts play well in big spots and get contracts That's a tale as old as time. But if you are looking at the final two games, at just the QBR statistics versus Detroit, where you are playing for supremacy in the NFC, home field advantage all the way throughout, you came up with a 17.4 rating out of 100. Then you said, okay, Detroit, that was tough. It was on the road. Let's lick our wounds. We're going to go to a neutral site here, playoff game, not even a road playoff game here. And you come away with a 13.6 QBR. And nobody watched those two football games and said, man, what did you want him to do? No, we looked at those football games like, boy, he looks like a bad quarterback with piston feet in the pocket, throwing bad plays, and also having wide open wide receivers and tight ends and not connecting with them in big moments in the game. I'm not saying he ruined his career because he's already made a lot of money. He's had some success. He will be a backup quarterback somewhere, but you are no longer looking at a dilemma that we thought the Vikings might have. Because the questions we were asking, Ben, during the season, what happens if the Vikings do get the 1 seed? What happens if the Vikings, let's just say, play for a Super Bowl? You can't let that guy walk, even though you think you have your franchise guy waiting in the wings. Now you look at it and go, we'd like to have you back. And you'll still be that quarterback that should be a backup when we first got you as a free agent, and you'll be on a 1 to 2 year deal, $6 to $7 million a year. That's where you fall back to, because the dilemma was, how do you let this guy walk? Now the dilemma is like, well, we actually could bring him back and pay him cheap.
Almost backed the Vikings into an impossible situation. DRS, one of my favorite memes following the end of Wild Card Weekend and Monday, the reaction to what we saw in the Vikings' offensive performance led by Sam Darnold, was the photo of Sam Darnold on his teammates' shoulders as he's getting sprayed with water everywhere in the locker room after Minnesota's dramatic win over the Packers to set the stage for that monumental matchup in the Motor City to end out the regular season. It was jubilation. It was pure joy in that Vikings locker room. And somebody said on Tuesday morning, so yesterday, hard to believe this was just 15 days ago, because at that point, that was the conversation. First in Minneapolis, would Sam Darnold have to be paid by this Vikings organization that had already invested a 10th overall NFL draft pick in J.J. McCarthy the prior April? Sam Darnold was not supposed to be the guy with a career resurgence and renaissance. Sam Darnold was probably not going to be the starter week number 1, but certainly not by like week 5 or week 6. He was supposed to be the bridge QB for J.J. McCarthy, for the young McCarthy to learn on the fly in the NFL and take over as the face of the franchise in the Twin Cities. And then Sam Darnold goes out there, performs in this Kevin O'Connell offense as we saw, and leads the Vikings to 14 wins. So now the reaction is, step 1, will he remain in Minnesota? No, I don't believe so. If he does, as Donnie alluded to, it's not on the 1-year, $10 million deal he signed this offseason to leave San Francisco in the backup role to become that bridge quarterback of sorts with the Vikings. It would be on the cheap to be the backup to J.J. McCarthy. But I don't think that's actually likely, DRS, to stay in the organization. So step 2, is there a market for Sam Darnold elsewhere in the NFL? And that's where I'm going to slightly sell the idea that Sam Darnold will not sign a long-term deal this offseason. What that value is, what the financial burden would be for a team, that remains to be seen. But I do believe there will be a team around the NFL that brings in Sam Darnold, not for a 1-year prove-it deal, but maybe for 2 to 3, around $15, $20 million per year, Donnie, because that's just what the quarterback position is going for, that asking rate currently around the NFL.
Yeah, and you know, it's funny that we bring up this question because Sam Darnold has played well enough to be a backup. There are a lot of bad backups. There's a lot of bad starters in football. You see him play an entire season. He had some highs, he had some lows, and the lows came late in the season. Whereas we said, if he beats Detroit, like they had the bye week last week, it's like, boy, man, he's going to cost us $50 million a year, because that's what the going rate for a good starting quarterback would be if they do reach free agency. Now he's come back. He's going to be a viable option, because we've seen so many times, it's not so much that when your quarterback goes down, Ben, for the season, it's like, oh, he's going to come in. But you need those concussion issues, hamstring,
Yeah.
sore throwing arm, fill in a game or two. Darnold might be one of the best out there to have a backup, but that's not where we're grading him on at this point. And he could be a bridge quarterback for somebody, particularly a team like maybe the Cleveland Browns, who Deshaun Watson blew up his Achilles again, who even knows he's going to take the field, where you just need somebody that will be competent to run your offense and give you a chance to hang around in football games. He's not going to be a starter where one team identifies him as the missing piece. Get him in here so we can make a Super Bowl run. But make no mistake about it, Sam Darnold's going to be quarterbacking in the NFL probably for the next decade, just based on what he did this year. And regardless of what you might think out there, the backup just needs to come in and run an offense and give you a chance to win the game. Sam Darnold could do that for a contender.
Listen, he got 1 year, $10 million to leave the backup role in San Francisco to provide that steady background, if you will, in Minnesota. Would it be just another 1 year deal at wherever his next NFL destination is? Perhaps. But, Donnie, when you look around the National Football League, the Titans will draft first overall, the Browns draft second overall, both in desperate need of a quarterback, it would appear. But it's really only a 2-quarterback draft class, at least for the opening round, and certainly for top 5, top 10 consideration. Very different from a year ago. So if the Titans and Browns fill their needs there, do you bring in a guy like Sam Darnold to be that bridge quarterback once again? Are there now other organizations like the Giants at 3rd overall, Sammy D, some familiarity with MetLife, maybe even the Jets? Once again, would they retread and go back to Sam Darnold? There are plenty of different teams. Indianapolis, you could go through and through here, DRS. The Raiders, to find some spots where teams that will need a quarterback are not going to be able to draft said quarterback early enough in the opening round to make a difference, that could need somebody either to fill a void or perhaps compete for a starting job. And that's why I do believe there is at least a small market for Sam Darnold around the NFL. Plenty more in Buy or Sell next.
Talk about it failing and always putting the square peg into the round hole. We're going to run it. We're going to try and play these lower scoring games. They didn't score over 17 points in the 5 straight losses.
There's a chance for the Ravens to exercise every single demon on their way to a Super Bowl. But it also means the path is very difficult and things are only getting started.
Pro Football Today, only on SportsGrid.
Jimmy Butler wants to leave because Jimmy Butler knows that Riles isn't going to pay him, and he wants to get paid. Simply put, if they would have given Jimmy Butler this contract extension in the summer when he asked, this wouldn't be happening. But Riles did it, and Riles wanted him to play. So now he's disgruntled because he wants out.
Betting above the rim, only on SportsGrid.
Your gut says Miami is going to win, and you should take the over. Your gut also said your NFT selfies would only go up in value. They didn't. But your head is on SportsGrid and knows the QB is in concussion protocol. The backup has a 45 QBR against the zone coverage. The New York D has the most sacks in the league. So yeah, trust your head. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
There is going to be an energy to game time decisions that you will feel night in and night out. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. I want this to be the place that people come to. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
We continue to play buy or sell all around the National Football League with a focus right now on the teams eliminated from the playoffs in the opening round. Here's an intriguing topic, DRS. The best receivers for the 5 best records around the NFC this season, and namely focusing on one team who you will see at the bottom, who was just ousted in Philadelphia on Sunday afternoon, that being the Green Bay Packers. Amon-Ra St. Brown, sensational year for the Lions. A.J. Brown probably wishes that number was higher, but still over 1,000 for Philadelphia. Justin Jefferson living up to the billing as the highest paid non-quarterback in the history of the NFL. Terry McLaurin, a career year in his first season with Jaden Daniels as his quarterback. The Packers' leading wide receiver was Jaden Reed, barely over 850 receiving yards. Now, there's a plethora of wide receivers the Packers utilized this year. Christian Watson, injured in the regular season finale. You had guys like Romeo Doubs that dealt with his fair share of injuries this year as well. Tavion Wicks, a ton of players that filled it up for the Packers, but it was more quantity over quality. And as the Packers now exit the postseason after only one game and scoring only 10 points against the Birds, DRS, buy or sell to you. The Packers are an elite receiver away from being true Super Bowl contenders.
Absolutely, you would buy that because that's what you're missing right now. When you look at the Packers, quality defense, young defensive coordinator here, learning the stakes there with most of those players. They'll be fine in the future. The offensive line is decent. Got an all-pro player at right tackle. You have a running back in Josh Jacobs who is phenomenal. You have a couple decent young tight ends, but you're just missing that go-to wide receiver in the biggest moment. It's 3rd and 7. I know he's going to beat his man and be healthy for that football game. I don't want to hear about, hey, guys, you know what? Watson's going to come back midseason next year, be that one. He's done, right, at this point. If he comes back and gives you anything, that's fine. Jaden Reed, good little wide receiver, fast, but you need that number one. Like, honestly, the Green Bay Packers, if they had Justin Jefferson added to this team, he's an elite wide receiver, they probably dominate. A.J. Brown as well. CeeDee Lamb. You see Amon-Ra St. Brown. Give them a top-flight wide receiver onto an already a good playoff team here. Absolutely, I would buy that. You give them a good wideout, which means Love would get better because everybody else will be open, which includes the number one wideout, which would have rolled coverage to him, which he would be beating anyway because that's what elite wide receivers do.
Yeah, listen, I'm going to buy the idea that adding a wide receiver, which clearly seems to be a position of need for the Green Bay Packers, elevates them to be a conference contender. A Super Bowl contender or even a short favorite for it? Not necessarily in
That's
my
not what
estimation.
A contender is, though. Contender would be like what? Top 8 teams in the NFL would be a contender to win the Super Bowl?
It's what they had this year was the price on Green Bay all season long to win the NFC and the Super Bowl. One of the 8 best.
Yeah. So if they added a wideout, but they would be Super Bowl contenders.
True, but they already were this year without a wideout. So I think it's taking that next step to not just be a team priced as such, but actually contend for a Lombardi trophy, which I'm going to sell that notion, but I'll buy the idea that the Packers would elevate adding on an elite wide receiver. Who might be out there? That's a different story. Tyreek Hill apparently wants to leave Miami. But my point is this, DRS. When you look at the AFC right now, 3 of the 4 teams that will compete in Wild Card Weekend are Super Bowl contenders, who we would all go around and say, yeah, they can win a Super Bowl championship right now. And there's a team mainly in Kansas City that has done so without an elite wide receiver in its last 2 Super Bowls. Has Travis Kelce provided that as the elite of elite tight ends, especially with his playoff pedigree? No doubt about it. But the Chiefs have won multiple Lombardi trophies without an elite wide receiver because of Patrick Mahomes. The Ravens very well might play in their second AFC championship without an elite wide receiver because of Lamar Jackson. Josh Allen had elite wide receivers like Stephon Diggs, doesn't this year, and the outlook and optimism for Buffalo might even be higher. So I'm not sure that just adding a wide receiver makes the Packers a 4 or top 5 Super Bowl contender around the NFL. I still think you have to answer the Jordan Love question. Promising at times, good for sure, but turn the football over a ton this year. 3 interceptions against Philadelphia in the biggest game of the season. 8 interceptions or 8 consecutive games to start off the year, throwing an INT as well. Yes, the postseason resume to beat the Dallas Cowboys last year on the road, that will bolster a lot for Jordan Love. But I'm still not necessarily sold that Love is one of the best QBs in the NFL. mainly my question is for Green Bay, Jordan Love. That's when I will buy or sell the outlook for the Packers outside of an addition to that wide receiver room.
Yeah, he would be a much better quarterback with some more stability at wide receiver too. Because again, I like their young wideouts, but those wideouts would be much more enjoyable to watch if they had a true number one, which opened everything up. They got the power run game. You start play action passing with a number one wide receiver going along with Jacobs in the backfield, things certainly will open up. And they had a quality season, and things sort of ran out. You just didn't have enough gas in the tank when you faced the Eagles because you were down your technically number one wide receiver and then lost two more wide receivers in that game, which didn't give you too much of a fighting chance late in that one. But as opposed to being Super Bowl contenders, if they had a number one, I think they would be. They made the playoffs this year without a true number one. You add a number one, maybe they win a playoff game or two there at that point.
The Packers were a team throughout much of the offseason, early on in the regular season, that their price to win a Super Bowl or the NFC was highlighted by many. The upside, the optimism from the odds perspective in providing a tad bit of value. But DRS, for most of the year, Green Bay had the third or fourth best price to win the NFC Championship, still behind the Lions and the Eagles. Even with the addition of a wide receiver, I'm not sure Green Bay is going to have a better price in the offseason than either Detroit or Philadelphia. I still think there will be that tier of two. And in fact, that you can make an argument the 49ers might even be priced in front of Green Bay entering 2025. So yes, they need wide receiver help. They need to try to get a true number one. I don't know if it changes their outlook all that much until we get some firm answers on Jordan Love.
Yeah, true. Yep, and the jury's still out. They paid him like they expect him to be a franchise guy and a top five quarterback sooner than later at this point. And he will have to assess his time with the Green Bay Packers this past season and say, okay, how can I take my game to the next level, which includes not turning the football over. But I do think the Packers have a pretty bright future in a really tough division.
It felt like for a while, 3 decades of successful quarterback play with Jordan Love would continue. Still think it does, but some questions. The NFC South next.
It's going to be copy-paste. Books are not good. Win total's a tick too low. Knock it right over. Make playoff price tick too juicy. Bang it out. Postseason comes around on a tee. Knock their heads off.
I don't think the Steelers organization just makes a move to make a move. They have to have, it's like being in the book. You have to know what you're going to move the line to.
Game time decisions. Only on SportsGrid.
Two guys that can do it all.
Too much electricity this morning.
This is a good time. We're having a lot of fun.
I had to do a triple take. Ka-ching! Why? Because of parity.
I didn't mean to offend.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
Load management is a dirty word.
Let him rip.
You know what? Circumstances provide the results. What? How do you do this one? Oh, Donnie, you got such a good show there.
A network that is booming.
The Early Line. Only on SportsGrid.
Talk about it failing and always putting the square peg into the round hole. We're going to run it. We're going to try and play these lower scoring games. They didn't score over 17 points in the 5 straight losses.
There's a chance for the Ravens to exercise every single demon on their way to a Super Bowl. But it also means the path is very difficult and things are only getting started.
Pro Football Today. Only on SportsGrid.
Now we focus on the NFC South, where for 4 consecutive years with 2 different quarterbacks, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers have won the divisional crown. The final 2 years with Tom Brady, actually not the Super Bowl year, oddly enough, in Tampa. They were a wild card team that season. And even with Baker Mayfield, an NFC South divisional title last year, a home playoff win, an NFC South divisional crown this year, came up short, as we know, against the Commanders on Sunday night. But DRS, the Buccaneers have not been priced as the NFC South favorites entering a year since Tom Brady's time in Tampa Bay. Might they be this upcoming season? You can see the odds right there. The Bucs had the second best price, but plenty of plus money at plus 310. The Falcons, after the offseason acquisition of Kirk Cousins, quickly became the minus money favorite to win the NFC South, and even sweeping Tampa throughout the regular season could not get that done. In fact, losing the regular season finale in overtime against the Carolina Panthers. So now entering 2025, still with a full offseason ahead of us, the buy or sell question to you, DRS, is this. The Buccaneers will open as odds on, that's minus money, NFC South favorites entering 2025.
I'm buying that. I'm going to buy that. And I do think it's going to be close. But if you look at the 4 teams in that division, you start with the Buccaneers. Well, Baker Mayfield is the best quarterback in that division. That's usually going to get a massive hand up over the next season and into the next 2 to 3 years, as you should, unless you have one of these younger quarterbacks take the mantle, which we'll get to. Mike Evans, he's probably going to come back. We'll have a 12th season with 1,000 yards. Bucky Irving looks like he's on the cusp of being a superstar running back in the NFL. And that defense, as long as Todd Bowles still stays as the head coach, is going to be comparable. The only drawback might be if Liam Cohen does move on, which means Baker Mayfield will have 3 separate play callers in 3 separate years down in Tampa. That's something you don't want to have, but you trust that Baker Mayfield would get through it the same way he got through losing Dave Canales to the Carolina Panthers. You take a look at the Atlanta Falcons, who I do think will be in line for a close spot here at the Buccaneers, because what we've seen out of Michael Penix looks like he's going to be pretty good. An entire offseason of him being the starting quarterback, that adds up. You have weapons all over the place, which includes Bijan Robinson, the best running back in that division, and hopefully Raheem Morris gets that defense together. But for me, it'd still be the Buccaneers. Reclamation project still with the Carolina Panthers. You want them to win 6, 7, maybe 8 games next year and sort of be in contention. And then there's the Saints in salary cap hell. Don't know who our quarterback's going to be, who our coach is going to be. You get the point there. So for me, I am buying the Buccaneers once again as a slight favorite in this division, which they weren't last year, but I do think they'll be slightly ahead of the Falcons, who were supposed to win it this year, just being just a little bit behind those Bucs.
But, my friend, that wasn't necessarily the actual wording of the buy or sell question. I would buy that the Buccaneers will be a favorite to win the NFC South entering 2025. Odds on minus money, I'm going to sell. Because like you, I still think there will be a ton of odds optimism for the Falcons. I think the Bucs are going to be plus 125 to win the NFC South, and maybe Atlanta at plus 200, plus 250, with the Saints and the Panthers maybe not all that far behind. I do think there is going to be some off-season love for Bryce Young, reinstalling himself as the face and future of the franchise in Charlotte in what turned out to be a successful second half of the first year under Dave Canales, a team that was incredibly competitive down the home stretch and looked really efficient offensively with Bryce Young. The Saints, I actually think, are going to be alongside the Panthers as one of the longer prices in this division, but I do think there will be a closer distinction than maybe we already perceive between the Buccaneers and the Falcons. Tampa will be a favorite, but in minus money, I'm not so sure.
Yeah, but that's not what the question asked. The odds-on favorite, though, buy or sell, will be the Buccaneers. So, yes, we're in agreement that it will be the Buccaneers next year. You're not saying that they have to be minus 115 at this point. The odds-on favorite means you have the best odds to win that division. No way.
Donnie, don't out yourself. They'll come from you on social media. One of the first things that I learned here hosting at the Spiz Grizz Network was that odds on, if you say that, odds on means minus money.
No way. There's no shot. That's in the sides. That's just in sides. You can't have 2 teams at plus money playing a football game together, right? So the odds-on favorite in a game would be, yes, the favorite because they are minus money. That's the odds-on favorite. You can't have an odds-on favorite there at that point with a, let's just say, minus 160, Kansas City, plus 240. Yes, it makes sense there, but you are odds-on favorite if you're the favorite in the odds market in that said market. What about Duke winning a national championship? They're plus money. They're the odds-on favorite to win the championship. They have the best odds. Nobody else is minus money.
But
no, I'm just saying.
With that being said, odds on by the technical definition, more than a 50% chance. If you're in plus money, now we got to buy or sell odds on. Up next.
Yeah.
Talk about it failing and always putting the square peg into the round hole. We're going to run it. We're going to try and play these lower scoring games. They didn't score over 17 points in the 5 straight losses.
There's a chance for the Ravens to exercise every single demon on their way to a Super Bowl. But it also means the path is very difficult and things are only getting started.
Pro Football Today, only on SportsGrid.
Jimmy Butler wants to leave because Jimmy Butler knows that Riles isn't going to pay him, and he wants to get paid. Simply put, if they would have given Jimmy Butler this contract extension in the summer when he asked, this wouldn't be happening. But Riles did it, and Riles wanted him to play. So now he's disgruntled because he wants out.
Betting above the rim, only on SportsGrid.
Your gut says Miami is going to win, and you should take the over. Your gut also said your NFT selfies would only go up in value. They didn't. But your head is on SportsGrid and knows the QB is in concussion protocol. The backup has a 45 QBR against the zone coverage. The New York team has the most sacks in the league. So yeah, trust your head. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
There is going to be an energy to game time decisions that you will feel night in and night out. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. I want this to be the place that people come to. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
We continue to play buy or sell live right here on this Wednesday morning on the early line on SportsGrid. The best thing about DRS, how he always hits you with a one-liner with about 5 seconds until we return from commercial break. Further investigation, by the way, odds on does mean a better than even chance of winning. Doesn't have to be just a game. Could be a conference championship, a title in award. Better than even would be plus 100, which would necessitate a minus money price in front.
But what happens if there's no minus money? Who's the odds-on favorite to win it? The guy with the best odds, right?
There are favorites.
So then you just said
odds.
The favorite?
It doesn't mean there's an odds-on favorite.
That's a terrible technicality. That's a terrible technicality.
Just want to make sure we provide our viewers with the most transparency so that when Donnie says he buys, the Buccaneers are going to be an odds-on favorite to win the NFC South this preseason and offseason, and they're just a plus 125 favorite. He can't take a victory lap. Like, who? Nah, we'll save the American League MVP favorite for another time as we get closer to this baseball season. Let's continue to go around the NFL. The RS to end out our opening hour. We heard from Mike Tomlin about the future of the quarterback position in the Steel City. What about the future of the head coaching position of the Pittsburgh Steelers? Of course, we know the story now on Mike Tomlin, a staple of success. The standard is the standard in Pittsburgh. Never a losing season in 18 years at the helm. Never fewer than 8 wins. And in 4 of the last 5 years, a playoff appearance. In fact, since 2017, you can see the success there. 5 playoff appearances, but not a single playoff win. Buy or sell Mike Tomlin is coaching for his job in Pittsburgh next season.
I'm buying it. And most people say, like, how could you do that? If he would be fired tomorrow, he'd be hired immediately. Yes, he would. Doesn't mean the decision is wrong or right by the Pittsburgh Steelers, which way they go. But understand this. When they say the standard is the standard, you know what the standard is in Pittsburgh? Just winning football games. You know what the standard is at the end of the season? Be above 500. You know what else the standard is? Don't win a damn thing once you get to the playoffs. So if we're saying next year, Ben, that we have a season that is 17 games and they go 8-9 next year, he will be fired from the Pittsburgh Steelers. If he does have another winning season, they'll probably still keep him around, which means he still is coaching for his career, because we've seen really good football coaches have under 500 seasons as long as they bounce back the next year, win playoff games, and maybe a Super Bowl championship. That's happened a lot. But we're not used to an organization that doesn't have losing seasons and doesn't win, having that dynamic of going, you know what? We can't fire a guy who's actually having a winning season and getting us to the playoffs, because it is a business. But at the same time, let's just say 3 years ago, the Steelers won the Super Bowl. The next 2 seasons for Tomlin were both under 500. He probably wouldn't get fired. He's like, well, we just won a Super Bowl 3 years ago. The guy's been around a long time. We'll get it together. But Mike Tomlin's track record is, I won a Super Bowl decades ago, it feels like, and I'm still coasting off that, even though we don't have any playoff success in an organization with 6 trophies. But I can understand where you never have a losing season. It's hard to move on. But the minute you have a losing season, it's going to be time to moving on. So for me, yes, Mike Tomlin is coaching for his career in Pittsburgh this season. I believe that.
I completely buy it as well, DRS. I think you could have made an argument that he was coaching for his career this year as well. You can paint the quarterback position whichever way you would like. We haven't figured it out at the end of Ben Roethlisberger's tenure. We tried to draft his replacement in Kenny Pickett in a weak quarterback draft class. He was the only guy to go in the opening round. That didn't really pan out. We got Russ on the cheap. He was serviceable, but of course, the ceiling was not necessarily elevated. We dispatched Matt Canada. We bring in Arthur Smith. Did the offense really change in terms of its production? Not really. But I'm going to buy the idea that entering year number 19, if Mike Tomlin doesn't at least get to the divisional round, I think there needs to be a serious conversation with this Steelers franchise. And that is nothing against Mike Tomlin. Sometimes, DRS, a long-term relationship just becomes stale. And this is nearly 2 decades of that. Bill Belichick won 6 Super Bowls in New England, and after 24 years, it was time for something new. Tom Brady won 6 Super Bowls after 2 decades in New England, and it was time for something new. That is what happens in sports. Sometimes a divorce, a breakup is best for both sides. A renewed perspective year after year, era after era, because that is basically what we are discussing here, DRS, with the Steelers. An organization that has had 3 head coaches since 1969. The Hall of Famer wearing a gold jacket in Chuck Noll. The Hall of Famer wearing a gold jacket in Bill Cowher. And a soon-to-be Hall of Famer, whenever he hangs it up, in Mike Tomlin wearing a gold jacket in Canton, Ohio as well. But here is the reality. Mike Tomlin took over as a young head coach after Bill Cowher, won a Super Bowl in 2008, played in yet another Super Bowl in 2010. The Steelers have yet to return to a Super Bowl in the last 15 years, with 1 AFC Championship game appearance to show for it back in 2016, which was the last time that Pittsburgh even won a playoff game. And Donnie, we have shared, sometimes it sounds stupid to say, but your own success can be your own undoing. It can hold you back, because the Steelers have not had a 5-12 year. They have not had a 3-14 year, where one, it's like, we need to address the future of this franchise, see a coaching staff, but we can also draft in the top 5 to figure out that quarterback conversation of our future. And because of it, because they have muddled along with winning season after winning season, the ceiling is never elevated, but the floor isn't there either. And that is kind of the weird purgatory of success that the Steelers are living in right now. But a franchise and a fan base, Donnie, because of the track record of success way back to the early 70s and literally in the last half century around the NFL, judges itself not by winning records, not by playoff appearances, but by Lombardi trophies, something that has eluded the Steelers over the last 15-plus seasons.
Absolutely. And I'll just go back to my Eagles fandom here. 1999, who'd the Philadelphia Eagles hire? Andy Reid, basically a quarterback coach for the Packers. Oh, wonder how that's going to work out. It worked out really well, but he ended up getting fired in 2012 because he did not have a championship under his belt, despite numerous appearances in NFC championship games and great football teams. And it wasn't an overnight sensation where you went to Kansas City and won right away. It took him 7 years to win a Super Bowl in Kansas City. Sometimes you just have to restart and get some of those ideas away. For Mike Tomlin, it could it be better? Hey, I'm so set in my ways in Pittsburgh. Sometimes you have that self-reflection. Boy, Pittsburgh just fired me or traded me. Why did that happen? Why couldn't I continue with Pittsburgh? Oh, man, maybe I should look at a more innovative offensive coordinator. Maybe we don't spend 90%. I'm not saying they do this, 90% of our payroll on defense because we're the Pittsburgh Steelers. We play hard defense first and run the football on offense. Sometimes that introspection gives you a better outlet to be a better coach at your next spot. And who would think that if Mike Tomlin was traded or fired, he would be hired by another organization? But you know what that organization would probably be? A little bit down in the dumps, looking to turn their tide. He would be the perfect coach to sort of re-energize that fan base and that team and maybe bring some different decision-making to that new organization, which he doesn't have. And as I bring back Andy Reid, when he was with the Eagles, he was all about, we don't need a number one wideout, outside of T.O., which they cast off the following season. Then he goes to Kansas City. He's like, okay, I need the best tight end in history, one of the most electric wide receivers, and the best quarterback of all time, and open up my mind on offense where we don't run the football, pass the football every play, mix in a passing game. He's been awesome in Kansas City. But I tell you this right now, if Andy Reid was still the head coach today of the Philadelphia Eagles, they would not have a single Super Bowl championship. He had to leave to be a better football coach, and maybe that's Mike Tomlin.
Different situations, different spaces allows different levels of success. And Donnie, to your point, would Mike Tomlin get a job the minute he leaves Pittsburgh? Of course.
Yeah, absolutely.
There would be 25 other NFL organizations that would take even 3 consistent years of winning season one after another, let alone 18. The Steelers are slightly different. It's just where they are in the historic landscape of the NFL. More on the early line next.
Talk about it failing and always putting the square peg into the round hole. We're going to run it. We're going to try and play these lower scoring games. They didn't score over 17 points in the 5 straight losses.
There's a chance for the Ravens to exercise every single demon on their way to a Super Bowl. But it also means the path is very difficult and things are only getting started.
Pro Football Today, only on SportsGrid.
Jimmy Butler wants to leave because Jimmy Butler knows that Riles isn't going to pay him, and he wants to get paid. Simply put, if they would have given Jimmy Butler this contract extension in the summer when he asked, this wouldn't be happening. But Riles did it, and Riles wanted him to play. So now he's disgruntled because he wants out.
Betting above the rim, only on SportsGrid.
Your gut says Miami is going to win, and you should take the over. Your gut also said your NFT selfies would only go up in value. They didn't. But your head is on SportsGrid and knows the QB is in concussion protocol. The backup has a 45 QBR against the zone coverage. The New York D has the most sacks in the league. So yeah, trust your head. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
There is going to be an energy to game time decisions that you will feel night in and night out. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. I want this to be the place that people come to. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
In this second hour, live right here on a Wednesday on the early line, we continue to play buy or sell, looking at the future of franchises that were just ousted from NFL playoff contention throughout Wild Card Weekend. Did just want to tie a bow, DRS, on the Mike Tomlin conversation in Pittsburgh, his future as the head coach of the Steelers, and the idea that some would say it's almost the anti to why you can dismiss him. He would be the hottest commodity on the coaching market for any other NFL franchise that would need a new head man. And that is absolutely correct. To that idea, Mike Tomlin at his post-season press conference yesterday afternoon was asked about his message to other teams potentially being interested in trading for him. Yes, you can trade for a head coach. Tomlin, in his contract, has a no-trade clause. That contract, by the way, runs through the 2027 NFL season. Tomlin, as he often does, can be a little bit short when he doesn't appreciate the question. Quote, I have no message. Save your time, end quote. So it doesn't seem as of yet, this offseason, Donnie, Mike Tomlin is going anywhere.
No, I don't think he's going anywhere this season. Also, I don't understand where, it's very rare that coaches do get traded. I'm going to say, what's
right.
The last time that happened? Was it John Gruden, back with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers from the Oakland Raiders?
I think
Has it happened since then?
Technically, Sean Payton had to be traded for.
That's true.
By the Broncos because he retired, but he still had a contract that had not expired yet in New Orleans. But like an active head coach, Bruce Arians. Oh, true.
Where did Bruce go? What was his deal? I don't even remember. What was the trade in Bruce Arians?
That
was actually
from
trade?
Arizona.
Jeez.
Wait.
Yeah, teams that are trading for head coach is corny.
From the Colts to Arizona? Anyway, that's not. Oh, yeah. Cardinals to the Bucs. Right. And then he won a Super Bowl in Tampa. Good point, Joe Frizo. Well done there. All right, back to buy or sell, DRS. Looking at notable AFC quarterbacks, because in that conference, there are a ton, and everybody is younger than 30 years old. Mahomes, of course, is the gold standard. 15 playoff wins, 3 Lombardi trophies. Josh Allen, 6 playoff wins, trying to get to a Super Bowl. Joe Burrow has played in a Super Bowl, has been highly successful in the years he has been healthy, and led the Bengals to the postseason. Lamar Jackson trying to change the narrative as well. Justin Herbert, only 2 playoff appearances, but 2 playoff disasters, if you will. Buy or sell, DRS, focusing on those bolts. The Chargers can realistically win the AFC next season.
I'm going to sell that next year. I am. But if you're asking this question, which I know we're not doing, we'll get back to the original question if that makes sense in a second here. In the future, I do think they're going to win a Super Bowl. I do. But next year, I don't think we're ready yet. Because the one thing we need to see is a true number 1 wide receiver. Love Ladd McConkey, operate out of the pocket, destroy teams, but give him some help on the outside, which they don't have. Go out and get a true running back. Did you see some of the teams this year really elevate their time? Philadelphia Eagles go out and get Saquon Barkley, dominant. You see the Baltimore Ravens, Derrick Henry, dominant. Jacobs goes to the Green Bay Packers, dominant on the ground. Give me one of those players in a horrible offense. They will use them. Herbert is a good quarterback, still learning to win in big pressure situations. They just don't have enough players right now, but it's not so much about the Chargers and their players. Ben, it's about the rest of the AFC and their players.
Yes.
Look at the guys that Patrick Mahomes is still in his prime. You take a look at Lamar Jackson. He's probably going to win a 3rd MVP. Josh Allen right behind him. Those are the guys you're fighting with just to not win a Super Bowl, just to get to a Super Bowl. I do think the Chargers' future is bright. But to win it next year, realistically, I don't think is the case they can win the AFC. And it's not because it's the Chargers' fault. They'll be good next year for me. They'll make the playoffs. But as I just explained, you have generational talent still waiting in line in the middle of their prime. I just don't think it's the Chargers' time yet.
Donnie, I think you summed it up perfectly right there. I'm going to sell the notion the Chargers can realistically win the AFC Championship next season, and not because of what is happening in Los Angeles in this organization. Jim Harbaugh is an organizational or program builder who even exceeded expectations this year. The Chargers' preseason win total 8.5. A plus money price to make the postseason in what we all expected to be a highly competitive AFC. A couple of different names, but you still needed double-digit wins to earn a playoff berth in that conference. The Chargers were able to do so. But to your point, Donnie, look at the AFC. And I think this year is going to be fascinating because here are the Chiefs once again in year number 7 with Patrick Mahomes as the starting quarterback in Kansas City. back with an AFC championship running through Arrowhead in home field advantage. The Chiefs now an 8.5-point favorite on Saturday afternoon against the Texans. Easily expected, at least outright, to play in an AFC championship game once again. That would be all 7 years with Patrick Mahomes as the starting quarterback. But if the Chiefs fall short of reaching a Super Bowl, does that change our offseason perspective through where the AFC runs? Would that open the door slightly for a team like the Chargers? Perhaps, because you have knocked the Chiefs off that perch. But still, Donnie, the Chiefs are going to be an odds-on favorite to win the AFC West for a 10th consecutive season next year. I think they will do that. It's because of all the teams in front of the Bolts that I don't think next year is realistic. At some point in Justin Herbert's career under Jim Harbaugh, yeah, I would buy that notion, just not in 2025, at least to be expected to be that contender right away.
And maybe it could have changed a little bit. Like you pick up that victory over Houston. Let's just say you got to play Kansas City. You can knock them off and sort of elevate yourself. We've seen the Chargers over the past couple of years play the Kansas City Chiefs very tough, but you're just asking them once it's into a playoff mode, win or go home, which quarterbacks are you going to trust based on their previous quarterbacking abilities in the playoffs. Herbert just isn't there yet for myself. Should have won that game against Houston. Turned it over so many times. But this team, as we said again, foundation builder in Jim Harbaugh. This team has the basis of having a really good offensive line, a good young quarterback, a good young wide receiver, McConkey. You just have to add to those pieces here and almost, if it makes sense, wait out some of those other teams here where maybe their quarterbacks are past their prime when Herbert is still in his prime to try to get that done. Fun team, love them, I'm buying them. I just don't think they're going to be able to come out of the AFC next year.
And there are still some quarterbacks in that list that need to use this postseason to change the narrative of really standing in the way of L.A. That would be Josh Allen and Lamar Jackson, who, of course, will face off to end the divisional round on Sunday evening. So that is the picture in the AFC. And, Donnie, I guess you can criticize Justin Herbert for his 2 playoff losses, the historic collapse against the Jags now 3 seasons ago. But his team scored 27 points in the opening half, not really on Herbert. Saturday against Houston, certainly so, with 4 interceptions. We'll talk more young quarterbacks next on the Early Line.
Jimmy Butler wants to leave because Jimmy Butler knows that Riles isn't going to pay him, and he wants to get paid. Simply put, if they would have given Jimmy Butler this contract extension in the summer when he asked, this wouldn't be happening. But Riles did it, and Riles wanted him to play. So now he's disgruntled because he wants out.
Betting above the rim, only on SportsGrid.
Anyone that's been to a sporting event, the atmosphere before a game, I think Game Time Decisions has that same exact atmosphere. This is our arena. This is what we do. There is going to be an energy to Game Time Decisions that you will feel night in and night out. The excitement you get when you lock your bets in, when you're figuring out what you want to do, we can zone in on the biggest games each night. I want this to be the place that people come to before the games start so they feel as ready as possible to lock in their cards. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions to get that new information, react to it, and be able to then bet accordingly. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
Talk about it failing and always putting the square peg into the round hole. We're going to run it. We're going to try and play these lower scoring games. They didn't score over 17 points in the 5 straight losses.
There's a chance for the Ravens to exercise every single demon on their way to a Super Bowl. But it also means the path is very difficult and things are only getting started.
Pro Football Today, only on SportsGrid.
Buy or sell continues into our final segment of this second hour. We have hit on a question for each of the eliminated playoff teams from this previous weekend and the opening round. The future is bright, there is no doubt about it, in the Mile High City with a rookie quarterback in Bo Nix that exceeded every expectation this year and cashed, for me personally, one of the best bets I have ever made. As you see there, more than 4,200 total yards, but over 3,700 passing yards in the regular season over his preseason season-long prop of 28.50 and a hook. The Broncos won double-digit games. They had a preseason win total of 5.5. Denver made it to the playoffs. But, Donnie, in a historic quarterback class, 6 guys drafted in the opening round, that the most in the modern NFL draft era. 6 guys in the top 12 picks. On top of that, there will be plenty of comparisons to be made around this 2024 quarterback draft class for a very long time. Jaden Daniels, the most successful in his rookie year, on to the divisional round and going to win Offensive Rookie of the Year. Caleb Williams, up and down, showed you some promise, but a disappointing season in the Windy City. Drake May, disappointing year in Foxborough, but a few glimpses as well. Michael Penix Jr. became the guy in the final 3 weeks as Atlanta tried to make a charge to the NFC South Divisional Championship. Came up short. Of course, J.J. McCarthy did not play this season for Minnesota. Buy or sell? Out of this year's rookie quarterbacks, Bo Nix will have the best NFL career.
I'm going to sell this just because under the notion that I have 5 chances against 1 chance to pick the actual best one of these quarterbacks. So it's sort of a loaded question. He was phenomenal this season. If we're looking at generational talent with everything you can do, I don't know if that's him. And those are sort of the buy signs that I look forward to, even though it's rookie seasons, some up and down. And I just said, Bo Nix had a very good rookie season, led his team to the playoffs, which I don't think many people starting the season anticipated anything of a run from anybody for the Denver Broncos. That helps him out. But if I am looking at guys like Jaden Daniels, who, man, in the spotlight has performed like an MVP at some times, going up against Detroit this week, and we'll see what he has. His future is extremely bright. You take a look at Caleb Williams, one of those generational talents that people were tanking enough to try to get him, and the talks of that the past couple years while he was with USC and in college. I think he has a bright future if they get the right coach. Drake May, who probably is brought into maybe the worst overall situation, we see that he does have some talent, and if he gets weapons around him, and with the right head coaching hire, maybe that is Vrabel, he can actually succeed. Then there's Michael Penix, who's a little bit old, like the elder statesman here, but we're expecting one of those where, hey, maybe the sky could be the limit. So J.J. McCarthy, injured, the knee, we'll see him come back. There is some talent there. We get it. But for me to just say out of this group here, Bo Nix is the one I identify with here to be the best quarterback long-term. I don't think I can say that. Generational talent, I don't know if I can say that. But we might be looking at 2 guys in this draft, Daniels and Williams, as possible generational guys when it's all said and done. Nothing against Bo Nix. I think he has a solid career, but I can't say for sure that he's going to be the best out of here, so I'll have to sell that.
I understand why the buy or sell statement was presented as such. We are focusing on the teams that were ousted from the opening round of the postseason. And Bo Nix was sensational this year. First 2 career games through multiple interceptions without a single touchdown toss. Sean Payton, as we kind of projected DRS, said, all right, Rook, get in there, take your lumps in live action and learn from it. And that's exactly what Bo Nix did. We also learned he was playing with a couple of fractured bones in his back throughout a majority of the 2024 NFL season. I think Bo Nix has a very bright future in the NFL. I'm going to sell this notion. Right now, it's Jaden Daniels to have the best career out of this quarterback draft class. I still think that Caleb Williams, Drake May, J.J. McCarthy, Michael Penix Jr., and Bo Nix could all have sensational years and careers as well. Donnie, 6 quarterbacks drafted in 2024. Again, the most we have ever seen in an opening round. The previous records were 5 in the modern draft era, including 2021. That class, not so great. 2018, though, could also be a generationally historic quarterback draft class. Baker Mayfield resurrected his career. Sam Darnold kind of has done the same. Josh Allen is Josh Allen. Josh Rosen, not so much, but Lamar Jackson, the final pick of that opening round. You were talking multiple quarterbacks that could have historic Hall of Fame-esque careers in the NFL. I do believe that the 2024 class has a little bit of that making.
It does. It's got some juice. And how do you tell that? Well, having some instant success right away and winning big spots. When you talk about rookie quarterbacks, what do you want out of their typical season, Ben? Just see how they progress to know that they might be able to be a franchise guy. How about some of these guys leading teams we didn't think to get to the playoffs and the rookie quarterbacks all the way through? They've done that.
Hour number 3, our third and final, up next on the Early Line.